Welcome to another edition of Vendavo's Revenue Roundtable. Today, I'm joined by Ben Blaney, our Vice President for Business Consulting in North America. And also with us today is Dave Anderson, one of our key leading business consultants in the North American team. Ben, David, thanks for joining us today.
Welcome.
And I'm going to start off with you. We've been reading a lot of things about a lot of different business conditions out in the world that are hitting our customers. What catches your eye in particular in terms of what you're seeing in the news?
Yeah, a couple of things, Mitch. I think, we saw an announcement today from one of the major auto manufacturers here in the United States, ceasing production because of the chip shortage. We talked about the chip shortage in a previous edition of Revenue Roundtable. That's still impacting lots of organizations downstream. And so that's a real kind of concern, and there's going to be knock-on effects. As we're pricing people, you'll notice that a lack of new cars increases prices of used cars. So that you could regard that as good. I bought a new used car last year, and it's now worth more than I paid for it. So I'm considering selling it, except I would have to replace it with another used car, which would have gone
up more expensive.
So, just super interesting dynamics that you don't often see. Another area we talked about previously is lumber. Lumber exploded in price, but announcement for the month of June is now down at the end of June relative to the beginning of June by 40%. It's, you could argue it's a small correction from an all-time high, but it is super interesting to see that these things are rapid and ongoing. And it behooves all of us in any industry to kind of monitor these market shocks that are going on.
Absolutely. Yes. Volatility, it's not just supply chain, it's the supply chain impact on pricing. David, you're talking to our customers, folks that are working on pricing projects all the time. What are you hearing from those folks?
Yeah, all of these rapid changes in pricing and even costs are certainly keeping the pricing teams busy these days. I know, trying to schedule meetings with folks that work in pricing is really difficult right now. CEOs are keeping these teams pretty busy as they're really looking to, change their own pricing in the market, which takes a lot of effort if you don't have the right infrastructure in place.
Sure.
So it's, really looking back for so long, efficiency was just driving a pretty flat pricing environment in most of the businesses that we worked in. So suddenly CEOs are wanting to change price, and they're really finding it quite challenging to do that. So, really interesting to see how folks are reacting, and it's looking at these teams, they're really acting more as firefighters right now, but when they really should be focused on fire prevention. They need capabilities to be agile in a pricing environment like we have today. And those companies that had invested in the past are really finding themselves in a good position to be able to react quickly to the changing economic environment.
I love your analogy there, David. It's like trying to install a fire sprinkler system when the building's on fire already.
Right.
So with that in mind, what are the capabilities that folks are looking for when they're trying to put in that sprinkler system? What's the business equivalent of that? Are they looking for certain capabilities that, what comes top of mind to not have the fire in the first place, right?
Yep. Yeah, I think it's funny. It's almost like a back to basics focus for businesses right now. I think leading up to COVID, there was a lot of focus on optimization and AI and all these things. And now it's really just to the nuts and bolts of managing pricing information. How do I execute a pricing change? Just the simple act of wanting to increase price takes weeks or even months of effort in some cases for businesses to actually implement. So from a capability standpoint, those businesses that invested in a centralized platform for managing their pricing data and automation around being able to execute and push that information out into the world where it's needed. Those customers that have made such investments are definitely at a great advantage right now compared to those that are trying to manage that type of activity in Microsoft Excel.
Yeah. The execution in terms of agility and the timing. I guess timing is an important consideration there, right? Where I remember working for organizations where pricing was a once a year event. December here's December, it's time to get the price list ready for January 1. And then you wash your hands of it, said, all right, now it's time to do all the other things. That's simply not business viable anymore, right? It probably never was, but certainly with volatility we have going on now. And please.
Well, it's certainly interesting, even looking at the world from a cost standpoint. I mean, for so long, again, efficiency was the rule of the day, and it was really difficult for companies that didn't have a lot of bravery, I suppose, to go ask for more price. So now that costs are rising, and now that everyone's doing it in terms of increasing prices, again, I think the temperature I'm feeling from our customers and prospects is, we need to go get price in the market to react to this changing environment.
So that brings up a couple of things. And Ben, we were chatting about this earlier. What are some pricing methodologies that are appropriate? What should be viewed with caution? What should be, there are different product strategies, new products versus older products that are at the end of their life cycle. What kind of things might people think about in this volatility, right?
Yeah, that's right, Mitch. It's interesting that in a time of cost volatility, we're talking, pricing practitioners, we've been banging the drum on some themes in the pricing world for a couple of decades now. But it feels like, whoa, hang on a minute. Aren't we just doing cost plus pricing? Aren't we saying costs are up, let's do some pricing? And here's my point of view is there are nuances available here that, yes, of course, we all believe that everyone should be doing value-based pricing to where it's recognizing the value your products bring to your customers. However, you can still maintain that integrity. You are not throwing that away when you say, well, yeah, I value price, but I still want to cover cost with price. A good friend of mine, a very senior leader in one of our customer organizations, I probably shouldn't name check him, but if you're listening, you know where I got this story from, it has this saying, this mantra: great commercial teams cover cost with price. It's just that simple. But it doesn't mean you're not doing value-based pricing. It's okay to protect the interests of the organization. It's super interesting. Last thought I have that provoked by something Dave said. We talked about lumber and we talked about how everybody's busy. We've seen our customers and prospects, I suppose more accurately, too busy to talk to us. Dave talked about fire prevention, and fire response. Prospects who are too busy to talk to us because they're busy doing what they're doing. And if you'll permit me a kind of dad joke, a horrific pun based on the lumber, they are too busy cutting down the tree to sharpen the axe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is interesting too when you talk about strategies, Mitch, just how pricing teams that have been managing a strategy for so long have had to change course rapidly. So I look to and think of the electronics vertical, not just chip manufacturers, but electronic component manufacturers. I mean, they typically manage a life cycle pricing strategy that your cost decreases deep into the life of a product and the price of that product goes down. But with supply disruption, a lot of these organizations are, they're changing course. They're kind of rapidly reacting to the market shortages and capturing price if they have the ability to do that. So there definitely is an advantage to having that agility capability in your tool bag because it's worth a lot to businesses Absolutely. That can capitalize.
Yeah, it's the old days of simple ABC customer classification or 5 ranges of product life cycle, and that intersection is how you manage those. Those days are over. That was a simplistic overassumption of making things possible because people were pushing things around with spreadsheets. Modern businesses have enterprise capabilities to take advantage of the nuance in all those very, very specific situations. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me today. This has been a great session. I know folks will be reaching out to us. Please reach out to us if you have questions or topics you'd like us to address at profit@mandavo.com. And until we speak again, have a profitable day.